Hey guys, welcome to our Sunday night youth group lesson. It is great to have you, and I've been thinking a lot about a specific word lately, and that word is impact. I heard this news story the other day, and it was just really interesting, talking about the impact of the coronavirus and how it has kind of stopped the world. And it was speaking about different things in the environment. And I know we've kind of all seen the pictures of like dolphins in Venice and things like that have come out as being doctored, but these were actual scientists who were studying different aspects of the world. One of them was talking about the Earth's core, and apparently the Earth's core, it has a certain sound vibration that is made from all of the traffic and foot traffic and cars and planes and everything on the earth. And they said that that sound, that reverberation, is quieter now because basically life is stopping on earth. Just even the sound that people make on the earth and how that reverberates inside of the earth's core is quieting. Another person was talking about birds, and so, the kind of question was, well, are birds getting louder? Because it kind of seems like it sometimes. You go for a walk and you hear the birds a lot more. And the answer was actually no, birds are actually getting quieter because they have less that they need to compete with in the world, less noise that's going on in the world. And I think it's really interesting to think about the impact that certain things have. Obviously, the coronavirus has made a major impact on our lives, on our world. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about how our lives make an impact, and the things that we do, there's consequences for every action that we have. I think that we're going to look back in 20 years, and we have no idea right now that we're in this situation what the impact of all of this is going to be. We're going to look back in 20 years and we're going to have a lot more insight into kind of how all of the actions of everything that's happening have been able to play out. But in the moment we can't know, just like in the moment we can't know what our actions, the consequences of those actions and the impact that those actions will have, we won't know until later on. So this was making me think of a couple of verses in Ephesians. So I'm going to read them to you. So Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 says, "Be imitators of God, therefore, as dearly loved children, and live a life of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." So then he kind of goes through and says how specifically to be an imitator of God. So like, don't do this, don't be immoral, don't be impure, don't be greedy, etc., etc. And then he talks about living in the light instead of living in darkness. And then this verse specifically is the verse that I was thinking of when I was thinking of impact. And it's Ephesians 5, verse 15. It says, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise." When I was a teenager, I went to a missions camp, and they had a whole page of verses to memorize, and this was one of those verses, and so every so often it'll pop into my head, and I'll say it again: "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise." And then verse 16 goes on to say, "Making the most of every opportunity because the days are evil." I think that there's something that kind of maybe resonates or reverberates inside of our hearts, inside of our core with this, that it is very important to live as wise, not as unwise, because we don't know how our actions are going to reverberate across the world. We don't know what the thing is that we are going to do that can either cause somebody pain or cause somebody joy. And Paul was writing this. If you know anything about Paul, he made some decisions early on when he was younger, when the church was younger. He was a Jewish Pharisee, basically, and he was not okay with Christianity when, the early Christians first started proclaiming the name of Jesus. and he persecuted them, and he was a part of things that he looked back on later and was very, very ashamed of. And Paul back then was called Saul, and he did things that he, came to later regret. And I think that, for all of us, we have things in our lives that we can look back on and think, I really regret that. I know that I have a lot of these things. And so, I think that when Paul is saying this to the church in Ephesus, and likely this letter was passed around to other churches as well, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise. He's thinking about that impact that decisions that we can make on those around us, and ultimately, I think they can reverberate even farther than we really realize. And, he's cautioning us to, instead of making unwise decisions, to be imitators of Christ. And so I want to encourage you in that. I think that there's an aspect where a lot of us are getting really tired of being inside. We're getting really kind of sick of this. You can kind of see that the nation is starting to get very restless, and it's very understandable. These are trying times for sure. But I want to encourage you to think about your impact and what that does for those around you, and how that can really just be very, very strong and very, very profound, and how that what we do can really impact others. So I hope that you guys are doing well. You're hanging in there. Once again, if you need anything, I am here for you, and I'm praying for you, and I will see you guys soon. Thanks for listening. Bye.